You're listening to the Turnaround Podcast, the true life basketball story of Bull City's own Stewart Squirt Holley.
Yo, man, this beat crazy.
At the junior college, I wasn't a scholarship player. Therefore, I didn't play heavy minutes. There were big games. Out of a 30, 40 game season, we would play 10 schools who were nationally ranked in the top 10. And no disrespect to some of my teammates, but we had certain guys, they know who they are, and I ain't gonna call no names out. We had certain guys who were intimidated of these schools and the players. And I'm speaking of schools such as back then at that time, Allegheny Community College, where Steve Francis played his junior college basketball before he went to the University of Maryland, then drafted into the NBA. Okaloosa Walton Community College down in Florida, who had the Taylor twins, Donnell and Ronell Taylor. These guys was like 6'5", 6'6". It was like Tracy McGrady and a twin brother named Tracy McGrady, coming at you at one time. These guys were super athletic, smart. These guys ended up going off to UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. One of the twins was playing in the league for a while. He was playing with the Wizards and the Orlando Magic. I don't know which twin it was. The other twin was playing overseas. But after they had, whooped up on us pretty bad, I told those Taylor twins, I said, hey, man, I see y'all guys in the league, because I was focused to get there, and they had everything that would have gotten them there. And after one actually played. And another strong team we came across was Georgia Perimeter Community College, Coastal Georgia Community College, and a couple of teams that was in our conference, Spartanburg Community College out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, Clinton out of Clinton, South Carolina. And I just didn't understand how my college coach, I just didn't understand how he did not see that you got certain guys in starting lineup. These guys were scared to death to go out here and compete against these boys. And it showed. I don't know how Dean didn't see it. I saw it. Certain other guys on the team saw it. We knew it. It's like everybody knew it but Dean. And you can't go into a gunfight without bullets. These guys stepped out there on the floor with no bullets and their guns. And the end result was we get smashed. So those are just examples of some games where I should have played more minutes, because I could have matched the intensity that these other players was putting out from the other teams. I could have matched their aggression. But sitting on the bench, I can't do nothing but try to cheer my teammates on and support them from the bench, which it hurt a lot. So I remember one game, we was getting beat by like 20-plus points at home. And BJ was like the superstar of the team. He was just Dean's guy. BJ couldn't do no wrong. We was getting our butts whooped so badly that BJ started cussing at the coach. He started cussing Dean out, telling him, man, put Squirt in the game, man. We need Squirt, man. Put Squirt in the game, man. You do this every time. That's kind of like Jordan being sat on the bench and Pippen gets the playing time and Pippen cussing at Coach Phil Jackson saying, man, put Mike in the game, man. We need Mike. That's kind of like what that was. I sat and talked with Dean at the end of the 2002-2003 season, because I wanted to go to a guard's position. I played every position on the floor at some point in time in my career. My first year at Rockingham Community College was 2000, 2001. And I actually got hurt that year, and I had the red shirt because I had a torn ligament in my left knee. The only time I've ever, throughout my 12-year career, the only time I suffered injury was actually in college. And what led up to it was we was in Bluefield, West Virginia. This was the first half of the season. And one thing that stood out to me in that game was the crowd. That the facility was beautiful. The outside of it was shaped like a dome, looked like a huge golf ball stuck in the earth or something like that. But it was beautiful. And so they was one of those colleges that have the crowds. They wasn't hostile as far as malicious, but they was hostile, like letting they support their team. And it was, the ironic thing about it was that was a special game for our coach, Dean, because that's the college he been graduated. And so their basketball team was okay, it was pretty strong, but I sat for a while that game. Dean decided to finally put me in a few times, and one of the most ironic things I never forget about that particular game leading up to the injury was the crowd, especially every time I touched the ball, I remember the crowd kept saying, they just kept, Grandpa. If I was at free throws, I heard Grandpa, And so at one moment in time when I was substituted out and I was sitting on the bench, I asked one of my teams, I said, who the hell they keep calling Grandpa? And my teammate looked at me, it was one of my boys, Smurf, and I said, they keep calling Grandpa. And he looked at me, and he, with a little smirk on his face, he said, "Here, Squirt, tell me what your old ass." And I was like, oh, man. I thought that was like a dagger in the chest. So I was like, all right. So I wanted to force the issue a little bit more next time I check back in. So I got an opportunity, and I remember we was going for a defensive rebound. And at that time, Dean would use me at the 3 and the 4. So I was already in the post, in the paint, because the fella I was guarding my assignment, he was a post player. And one of his teammates took a shot, and a few of us was going for the rebound, and somebody made contact, and it was actually one of my teammates who fell into my left leg. His back, as he loses balance out of the air and fall out of the air, as soon as he hit the ground, he fell into my left knee and hyperextended that left knee, which caused a tear in the ligament in my left knee. You know, so when we got x-rays and MRIs, I felt it and I heard it, and no whistle was blown, so play continued, and I hobbled up and down the court in pain. Either a violation was called or finally a timeout was called to get me off the court, and I didn't return. So when they got me to where they could get x-rays, nothing showed up. So then they went to do an MRI because something wasn't right. So when they did the MRI, that's when they found out it was a partial tear in that left knee. It didn't call for no surgery, so I just had to rehab, and I rehabbed aggressively. And the doctors from our school, and the orthopedics that we worked with, they just praised my work ethic. But I had to come to a point, like I said, once I had committed to Rockingham like that, I was just 1,100% into basketball. My focus was basketball, whatever it took to get back. So that's why I was so aggressive with the rehab. They knew what the problem was. They knew how to isolate the problem. They knew how to get me to come back from it. So I went at it hard. And I ended up just practicing with the team, traveling with the team, didn't play because I took a medical red shirt. And we was getting our ass kicked right before the Christmas break, 01-02. I remember Dean asking, would I be able to play in the second half of the season? And I said, I don't know, Coach. This was like in December of 2001, like during the holiday break. And Dean come to me, and I said, no, I don't know, Coach. So he said, let me know, because we need you and we can use you. I said, okay, Coach. I wrestled with that decision because I just didn't know. So I finally ended up calling home, talking to my mama, and I said, Mom, Dean want me to play the second half of the season, but I don't know what I should do. So my mama, she always give me the best advice. And my mom's never been an athlete, but she's been a cheerleader in high school, so that counts for something. But what my mama told me was, listen to your body. What does your body tell you? And I say, my mind's telling me, yeah, but my body's telling me no. So once she told me to listen to my body, I've never looked back. So I talked to Dean. And it was a tough decision because I wanted to help my teammates. And I knew they needed me because I was the piece that they needed. I knew that. Dean used me at the 4 and the 5 pretty much because I was strong enough to watch the guard, bigger, taller players, but I was strong enough and smart enough to where I could guard them. And some of our bigs were getting early foul trouble, and Dean almost had no choice but to put me in the game at the 4 or the 5. And I'd slow these guys down and not enable these guys to just do what they want to do. My strength and my leadership, I was big bruh to them. Even our best player, I'm big bruh to him. I'm big bruh to them. They was our best players. those are our strongest players, and everybody else, they fall in line, and they was good at what they do. So I set out as a redshirt. But yeah, that's the only time that I had to miss basketball. Fast forward to the 02-03 season. Again, like there was games I should have played more, but I didn't. But when I would step out there on the court, I had an immediate impact. One of my teammates out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, his name is Justin Anthony, 6'7", played with Chris Paul in high school. His daddy, after one game, he was down in Surrey, North Carolina. And Surrey was kind of having their way with my teammates. And I'm just sitting on the bench, just boiling. Because I looked at Surrey, it's like, these guys are inferior. Like, what are we doing? So I guess Dean finally decides he's going to release the Kraken. He finally calls my number. And as soon as I check into the game, I dropped like 12 quick buckets, 14 quick buckets. And whatever lead that they had on us, with my teammates and me leading the way, we went up. And after that game was over with, we called Justin. Justin's nickname was Treasy. So Treasy, his dad came to me, and his dad said, "Boy, you remind me of Julius Erving when you out there on that basketball court. You put some hard work in out there on that court. Why he don't play you more often?" And I looked at Mr. Anthony and I said, "You know what? I have no idea, but I've been trying to figure that out myself." So to have one of my teammates' parents mention my name in the same breath as Julius Erving was a high honor, because I'm very aware of who Dr. J is, and Dr. J was also someone I looked at and admired. I follow Michael Jordan. I grew up in the era of Michael Jordan. So, but I always wanted to know, where did Michael Jordan, who did he look to? That's just the type of person I am. I want to know, who did Michael Jordan admire? Come to find out, do my research on Michael Jordan has an older brother named Larry Jordan. I don't think a lot of people know that, but Michael Jordan's older brother, Larry, was the one who used to actually kick his ass in the backyard. And Mike always felt if he could beat his older brother, he could beat anybody. So that's really how Mike kind of developed his aggression towards the sport. He learned it from his older brother. But Mike also looked at pro players, and the pro player that he looked at was Julius Erving. So once I learned that, I started also looking at old footage of Julius Erving to see why the greatest player I ever seen, why he admired this guy so much. And if you go back and look at anything of Julius Erving, it's very easy to understand why. He was the first of his kind, right? Shaq, the most dominant player we've ever seen. But before Shaq, there was Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt was the first dominant big man ever, right? And I go back, I look at old footage of these guys, what made them who they were. So for my teammates' daddy to mention my name in the same breath as Dr. J, it was an amazing compliment. And I appreciated that, because I worked hard. When you're blessed with physical abilities like that, when you train hard and work hard, all it does is enhances those natural God-given abilities. And towards the end of 2002, 2003, we won our conference, and we had a really good season. And the year before that, 2001, 2002, the guys on that team had won the division in the conference, and we actually went off into the regionals. And I felt helpless because the injury, I couldn't help my teammates, and we got killed down on Jekyll Island, Georgia. We got killed by Coastal Community College, and felt so helpless. You know, all I wanted to do was just help, and all I could do was just give advice. And they needed me, but it was nothing I could do. I wasn't physical. I just wanted 100%. So towards the end of 2002, 2003, I went and sat and talked with Dean, and Dean knew I wanted to play professional basketball, because I told him my goal eventually is to go pro, and whatever protocol necessary, I'm willing to take. And Dean used to inspire me indirectly, because he used to always say, I don't know if he was talking to me in particular, but Dean used to always say in practice that none of us was good enough to play professional basketball. He used to always say that. And I heard what he said, but I didn't listen to what he was saying. It motivated me, because here's this guy sitting here saying what I couldn't do. I don't know how the other guys took that, but I took that as motivation. Like, I'm not going to allow some guy to tell me what I can't do. And that's no disrespect to Dean, but he motivated me indirectly with that. He motivated me by sitting me down, not playing me. So that whole Michael Jordan thing, Michael Jordan always said no one could stop him but Dean Smith. And I could relate to that because that was the only person who could stop me at that time was Dean Myrick. Why? Because he sat me on the bench. So I sat and talked with Dean, and I asked him why he didn't play me as much. Why didn't I get more playing time? So he gave me some bullshit political answer, basically saying, well, he said, I owed obligation to my scholarship players. So I just said, okay, all right. That's the political answer. But in my mind, I was thinking maybe you should play the players who get the job done versus scholarship players. No one knows this, but I also was 2002, 2003 homecoming king, February 2003. I had no idea about this, but the student body had so much respect for me. So I was going up to Bonnie's office one day, who was Dean's secretary. So I go to bring some paperwork, and she said, congratulations, Stewart. So I looked at Bonnie. I said, congratulations on what? She said, you didn't hear? So you've been nominated for homecoming court. I said, what is homecoming court? I don't know anything about homecoming. So, I thought that was just some white people stuff. I said, homecoming? I said, what? I said, I didn't sign up for homecoming. I don't even know what homecoming is. So she just thought that was just so funny. She said, oh, no, the student body nominates homecoming king and homecoming queen. So I just processed that like, okay, whatever that means. So we was playing a home game in February 2003, and they announced the homecoming court. And I was the winner. And that just blew my mind. Like, the student body had so much respect for me. I guess it was the way I conducted myself on campus, because I was a leader in the classroom also. And like I said, I sat on the first or second row in each of my classes, always participated in class discussions, always turned in my homework on time, stayed in the math lab, stayed in the library studying. And I guess people, they see that. They see what you do. So to anyone listening, always keep that in mind. People watch what you do. So when you think no one's watching, you never know who's watching. So obviously the student body was paying attention to that. And we be in home games at the community college. The baseball players, who were some of my best friends also, they would always sit behind the opposing team's bench just so they could heckle them. And which I thought was funny and fun. So that's just the college environment. So, but it was a few games, where if I did not play and the crowd felt as if they had enough, they would start a chant. And that chant was, we won't squirt, we won't squirt, we won't squirt. And we could be getting killed. And student body felt like they done saw enough. All right, Dean, time to release the Kraken. So I remember BJ, like I said, BJ was the superstar of our team. His mom stood up one time with her RCC pom-poms. We were getting our asses dug in. She done seen enough, the crowd done seen enough. She was the first one that stood up this particular game with her pom-poms, green and white. She started shaking those pom-poms. We won't squirt. We won't squirt. And the whole crowd just, Dean heard it. We all heard it. And, it was kind of overwhelming, but the game was out of reach. These guys was beating up on us pretty bad. But that was just the amount of respect I had amassed on that college campus. And I'm very thankful to the student body, everybody that attended Rockingham Community College at that time. I appreciate everybody who showed me that support, showed me that love. I appreciate that. It's an experience that I'll never forget. It's an experience that I wish my high school friends and schoolyard friends back at home in Durham, I wish they could have witnessed that, because they don't know that.
This has been a Vanguard Podcast Network original. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Turnaround Podcast, and follow the Turnaround Podcast on Instagram by clicking the link in the show notes. If you'd like to book Stewart Holley for a speaking engagement or to be a guest on your show, please reach out to theturnaround77@gmail.com and someone will get back to you within 48 hours. Thank you for listening.
Yo, man.